Imagine if none of this was real. Now, wouldn't that make life a little bit more interesting? I think it would. What if none of it existed at all? It was all just an idea. The older I get, the more I think that we are living in a video game, as it were, or kind of a video game. That this world is an illusion. I don't mean to say that there's someone sat on a computer and we're just, characters being pushed along. I don't know, nothing like that, nothing that simple, something far more complicated than that. But the more I go through life, the more things I see, the more things I learn. The more I'm starting to think that there's got to be more to this. There has to be. And so, I'm gonna start a journey today for discovery and learning, step by step. I don't know how long it will last, probably quite a long time. But this video is the first in the step of discovering what is it all about. Obviously, I probably extremely high chance. The chances are extremely high that I won't find out. I don't think we're supposed to, not in this lifetime. But we'll see. As the days go on, we'll see. There's a great mystery out there. I bet that once we've uncovered this mystery, once we've unraveled the tapestry of space and time and all this, I bet it's not really that mysterious. There's a simple code behind it all. And we think it's something incredible. It is something incredible. But I believe it's within our hands to open it up and find out what it's really all about. I've been watching a lot of videos lately, and it seems that there are people out there who seem to be echoing a lot of the same thoughts that I've had in recent months. There appears to be, and this isn't my words, other people call it this, an awakening. A lot of people say for them, they say it started around 2011, 2012, where they felt that the world just isn't the same anymore. There's something going on with the world. Something has changed. For me, it happened a lot earlier. I would say around about 2000. For me, it was. All of a sudden, things just didn't feel right. But I didn't really take much notice of it. But then time went on and on. The years went by. And I began to just look around me, and to me it all looks, to me it just feels like it's completely crazy. Personally, I can't make sense of it. So there are people whose perception is slightly more open, and they do have a greater connection to the universe. But the majority of people don't. They don't have this connection to the universe because that's not part of the game. That's not part of the rules of the game. But the rules of the game, the simulation is here. what we're going through right now. We're playing this game, and I believe that whatever we are out there, wherever we came from, we agreed to play this game. We agreed to go ahead and do it. It may seem like madness now, like why on earth would I come here and live this life? I mean, I believe me, I've thought about it. Why on earth did I come here to do this? I don't know. But whatever out there wanted to do it, wanted the experience, maybe wanted the challenge of it. Wanted the challenge of this game, as it were. And I think what happens is that a lot of people become obsessed with the game. They become obsessed with this mask persona, ego, whatever it is. They become utterly obsessed with it that they've lost, that they still have like I said, the connection is still there, but people just can't believe it. They can't believe it, and they're cut off from it completely because it just seems so mad and so crazy, you know. They've become obsessed with the physical, with themselves, and so all that they do is think with the brain. Think with the brain, because that's all that there is. People have become so obsessed with the game, with this reality, with themselves, with the mask, the ego. There's nothing else out there that's greater than what's happening now. So all the people ever do is think with the brain. They think with the brain more than they do with the heart. And I think this is the reason why so many people are miserable and depressed. Because they're having this constant argument going on all the time. This saying this and this saying that. And it just goes around and around and around. Maelstrom. And it just goes around and around and around. Great big storm going on up here, when really what you need to do is let it all out. Let it all out. Through the heart. That's not easy to do. I know it's not easy to do. I mean, I struggle to do it. Because what happens is, when you start thinking about letting go, you start to think, well, I'm gonna let go. I'm gonna think with my heart. I'm not gonna overthink things, because that's what people do. And I think that this is the cause of depression and misery, is that we overthink everything when we don't really need to. We need to be like children again, you know. When you're born and you're a toddler, you don't overthink anything. You just go along with the flow of things. And all of that just gets crumbled down as you get older. And we become more and more obsessed with the simulation, and we just think, overthink everything. Everything is just a big ordeal. But the problem is, when you try not to think about thinking, you start thinking about it. This is the horrible, cruel paradox of it all. How do you stop yourself from thinking too much? How do you stop yourself from thinking about thinking? The answer to that? Well, there's no real easy answer. There is no real easy answer to that. It's just to completely let go. Somehow let go. Somehow live through this. Think of yourself as a river, which I know sounds stupid, and I'm not trying to be poetic or anything like this, because I know that's what it sounds like. But in this video game, everything that we see exists because of us, and I believe in that way we're all linked in some way. We're all linked to the trees, the animals, the water. It's all there because we're there and we're seeing it, and we assign to it through language, the shapes, the sounds, the different types of forms that the different animals take on. We are the ones that are seeing that, and we are the ones that are creating it, and we're all part of it. And when you see other things out there in the world, when you see a stream, and when you see trees, the leaves blowing in the wind and all this, it's all just naturally moving. It doesn't think about it, it just flows. And I feel that somehow we need to get into a similar pattern of existence. Not easy to do in the Western culture that we have at the moment, where it's all about work, isn't it? It's all like work. You gotta get your career, you gotta get, gotta get a good job, you gotta earn this, you have to save this, you have to save X amount of money so that you're okay when you're an old person. Even though if you think about it, anything could happen. I mean, how long do you expect to live on the earth? 80 years? You expect to have a lifetime of 80? Anything could happen. Anything could happen between now and then. I mean, the government could build an army of robots that takes over the entire world. What about all that money that you saved up then? Was it really worth it in the end, was it? People are obsessed with the game so much that they don't enjoy the game anymore. They don't get anything out of the game. We came here for an experience. We become so obsessed with it, and so obsessed with our ego, so obsessed with this physical world, even though it's not physical, but we think it is. We become so obsessed with it, and we just think all the time. Oh, it starts from a very young age as well. I mean, you don't get much of a break from it. I mean, how old are you when you are told, oh, this is what life is and this is what you've got to do? How old are you? I mean, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? I guess when you're about 11, 12 is when it really kicks in, which is really miserable if you think about it. You have to do this career, get into debt. A lot of people get into debt over it. And then you go off and you pursue this great career and you get this great job, and it's just so awful if you really think about it. And that's the be all and the end all, and people get so obsessed with it that they make themselves sick with it. They make themselves sick. You get older, you get weaker. And you've spent all of that time. It's going to happen. You're going to hit a certain age in your life, and it's going to hit you. I've spent all of those years thinking, stressing, thinking instead of letting it all go and being part of the music of life. Let us say that life is music. Everyone likes music, everyone appreciates it, everyone wants to dance and make a tune. Go along with the music of life and let go of this. Let go of it. These crazy routines. And don't overthink things anymore. You want to do this thing, you want to do this certain thing, and go for it. Remember, it's all part of the game, it's all part of the experience that you chose to do. You're here for that experience. Might as well go along with it. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And there will come a time it doesn't matter when it happens, but it will happen when you'll open your mind, you'll open your eyes. There will come a time, it doesn't matter when it happens, but you will open your eyes, your real eyes, out there, and then it'll all make sense. You'll be like, ah, yeah, of course, I see, I get it. No need to overthink things. No need to overthink. Not at all. Just go along with the flow. Imagine that the world, the universe, everything around us that we perceive to be real, imagine that it was all made out of waves of electricity that we are translating through our minds. Our minds are a kind of computer, and the waves of electricity travel through the minds and out through our sensory organs. We see all of this, everything around us. And I read an interesting article recently on the internet saying that scientists have looked into an atom and discovered that there's absolutely nothing there, which is very significant if you think about it. It would mean that everything around you, this here, it's not solid. Nothing around you is solid. Everything that you can see is an illusion. It's very interesting to me, and I think personally that it makes sense if this reality that we're in is a kind of video game. I feel this from my own personal life, but also when I listen to the stories of other people's lives and all the things that happen, all the strange circumstances. Sometimes you can think about something, and then the next day it can happen. Almost like you're pulling it into reality. I think that the imagination that goes on in here, I believe that it's connected to some greater source that exists outside of this reality, outside of this game. And I believe that we can communicate with it when we dream and we sleep. For me, dreams are the key. They really are the key to unlocking the doors to some other reality that's far beyond this, I have had dreams before that feel, to me at least, I feel were just as real as this. And it got me thinking. We're inside a video game, and it has a set of rules that's been programmed into it. And those rules can change how the game runs, for you, for me, for everyone. And in this game, there must be two things that have to exist. Positive and negative. You can't have one without the other. You need them. You need to have negativity, There's nothing wrong with having positive thoughts, but there needs to be things going wrong in order for us to understand or enjoy it when things go right. You can't have one without the other. And I believe, this is from my own personal experience, if you manage to escape from something, a negative situation, you manage to escape from it, another negative situation will take its place. You need to have enemies as well in order to know who your friends are. You're always going to be faced with a conundrum. There's always going to be someone there who's, trying to get at you in some way or the other. And there's nothing that can be done about it. It's the only way for you to be able to tell the good people from the bad people. You need those people that you see, to be bad. And that there's no way around it. Without the bad, you don't get the good. It's a strange thing that this whole reality seems to be built up out of it. Out of positives and negatives. Good and bad. And I suppose if we didn't have these things, I imagine that this reality that we're in would probably be rather boring. People like to have something to moan about. I believe that if, in accordance to the nature of this video game that we're all in, we're translating it, like I said, the computer brain through the eyes, which if you are confronted by someone who's an unpleasant character and they're giving you trouble and you think, my gosh, I can't take this anymore, and you try to get out of the situation, go and get another job, or say you're at work and there's someone's giving you trouble, so you go and get another job, what will happen is, when you eventually accomplish this and you get another job, what will happen is that the video game that we're in will produce another person, just like the other person you're trying to get away from, maybe even worse. Because that's what this game is built up out of, and it doesn't matter really what you do. I've listened to stories of other people, I've also read a lot of stories about other people, and it doesn't matter where your position is in life, there will always be some demon, if you will, clinging onto you. It doesn't matter what job you do. It doesn't matter about your social status. It doesn't matter how much wealth you manage to accumulate over time. What your situation is like. There will always be a negative there clinging onto you. Something gnawing away. If it's not a person that's giving you a hard time, it will be another enemy, which I think is even worse than a person. Because at least a person, you can tell them to get lost, right? There'll be another enemy. That enemy is your own mind. When that goes against you, you're in a fix. That is why you have so many people that seem to be in really pleasant situations. Famous people. Famous stars, superstars and all this kind of thing. You think, oh, they've got it all. They've got the fame, they've got the fortune, And then they end up turning to drugs, alcohol, and seem to be completely miserable. And actually can actually end up killing themselves. Because we all have this, there's going to be this negative shadow following us around, like I said before. So what is the remedy to this? What is the remedy to this conundrum? I think the remedy, and I'm still exploring this. I'm still exploring it, and I'm still exploring this whole idea of the video game reality. I believe that the remedy is to just simply accept it. You've got to accept it. You've got to accept the negativity, and then what you have to do then is embrace it as just part of the laws of this reality. And the more you resist it, the more miserable you're going to be. The whole universe is made up out of waves of electricity. High, low, positive, negative. Somehow what we need to do is channel the higher positive waves into the computer of the mind. The negativity will always be there. Like I said, it's part of the programming of this reality we're experiencing. It's always going to be there. You will never be able to defeat it. Ultimately, never be able to defeat it, not in this reality anyway. It's just part of this game. You can't defeat it, but what you can do is embrace it. Accept it for what it is. The mind, it can be an enemy. When you hear the mind up here, this conflict, you must somehow move beyond it and think instead from here, from the heart. That, I believe, is the path to peace. It's a nice looking picture here. Look at it. A country scene. The trees, the leaves. Nature in motion, and we managed to get a brief snap of it. Life in its full flow. When you start to look at life as a video game, like it's some sort of big game, people will look, especially if you talk about it, people will look at you and say you're completely mad, which is, fair enough, I guess. Fair enough. But think about this. Those same people who said that you were mad will go home after a day's work, sit down on a sofa, and for 6 hours sit and watch television. They will sit and watch a television program which is about other people and fantasize about being those people. Wishing that they were that celebrity, is what I mean. Why couldn't I be that celebrity? It's so unfair. Think about that. Nothing is normal. This idea of normal, what normal is just an illusion, just like everything else around us. If you can get it into your head that it is just a video game, that it's not real, it kind of makes life a little bit easier, because when you start thinking that none of it's real, and you start to think that life is just a joke, really, it's just a joke, it actually makes it easier. And you stop taking things so seriously, which I think is the most important thing, is the way that people take things so seriously. You start to look at life like it's a joke. And so when all these things go wrong and you think, oh my gosh, you can turn around and say, well, it's not real, it's just a weird experience. You can just laugh it all off. It can, as crazy as it all sounds, it can put into you some positive energy. It can put positivity into you and make you look at things like they're not so bad, which is good if you think about it at the end of the day. But if you can imagine that the universe or whatever this is around us is just energy, radio waves. So for example, when you listen to a certain radio channel, like you're listening to Radio 1, Radio 2 is still out there, you're just not tuned into it. We are all made up of waves of energy. That's how it works. And so we're on this one wave, and there are other waves all around you. And I believe that this is a pretty good explanation, can be used as a good explanation for spiritual activity, you know. I've listened to a lot of EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, and I've recorded some myself by complete accident. I don't go ghost hunting or anything like that. But when you listen to an EVP, it's always very crackly. It sounds like someone trying to tune in from a different radio channel. That to me, that's what it is. It's different radio waves of energy built like this. And we're on this one wave of energy. And we can affect that. I believe that it's possible to affect that energy using your mind and using your two minds, as I've been talking about. It's possible to get onto a negative wave of energy. I think a lot of people do fall onto this very negative wave of energy. Anger and hatred, all very powerful emotions. Language and emotions, I believe, are how we interact with this reality, this simulation. And anger and misery and hatred are very, very powerful, and it's very easy to feel those feelings of anger and frustration and hatred, and just angry at everything that's going wrong, and you can get yourself onto this very negative wave of energy, which I believe quite a lot of people are on, especially when, like I was saying, you get into a war with your own mind. Your mind becomes your enemy, then you fall into depression and feelings of anger and anxiety as well. There's so much anxiety and you know. I was reading an article on the news, and it said on there that the pursuit of happiness is a constant battle for people nowadays. Again, there's something going wrong. There's something going on in this reality. Something is going on. But anyway, there's a discussion for another time. But people get onto this negative wave of energy, and when they're on this negative wave of energy, which I believe you are manipulating, maybe without realizing it, because we're so disconnected from the universal consciousness, which is what we really are. Get onto this negative wave of energy, and what you do is you just attract you just keep attracting horrible negative things all the time. You keep pulling in all these horrible situations and it just feels like everything is going wrong, and it never gets any better. It just always seems to be going wrong all the time. I'm speaking from personal experience. Like, I feel that I definitely in the past, still now even on a negative wave of energy, and you know, I'll talk about it another time maybe, but always seems that things are going wrong all the time. You think, my gosh, what is this all about? What am I doing? What is this all about? Negative wave, and somehow we've got to get up. If you're feeling unhappy and things aren't going well, somehow we have got to get up onto a higher, more positive wave of energy. Is that going to be easy to do? No. Now, I believe it should be easy. You should just be able to slip into it. But because we are so, we're so obsessed with this reality now, you know, the mask that we wear, the ego, ourselves and our lives and what's happening in the future. Oh, we're all so worried about the future and all this kind of thing. I've grown up in this world and I've been indoctrinated like everyone else, and I'm only just beginning to see through it. So I'm in the very early stages of my journey of awakening, as it were. And I can see it, but I've still got the teachings, the indoctrination. And think about that indoctrination, where you are told what you are, what you can and can't do, and what's expected of you, and what you have to do in the future. That kicks in as early as from the moment you really go to school. From the age of 5, really, it's that young. I feel straight away you're brought into the system and you're told this is it, this is what's happening, this is what's real and what isn't real, and it starts. It's very, very young, those very tender years, when really you should just be, we shouldn't be thinking about those things. You should just be free, as the birds, the plants, the trees, and all that sort of thing, should be worrying about, oh, you have to do this exam. You've got to do this exam, otherwise you won't get anywhere. And from a very young age, you are guilt-tripped by pretty much everyone. You are guilt-tripped by the teacher. Oh, well, you didn't get this certain level. Oh, well, you won't get anywhere in life. You're guilt-tripped by colleagues, people around you, friends. They'll say, oh, well, you didn't do that good. Look at me, I did so much better. And then you will be guilt-tripped and made to feel ashamed by your own parents. Because your parents, they will chastise you as well. They'll turn around and they'll say to you, well, why didn't you do very well? Why didn't you study more? Why didn't you try harder? So you're made to feel miserable and made to feel a failure from an extremely young age, from like 30, if you think about it, 13, 14, and 15 years old when you go for your exams. You're still so young. You are still so young, and yet you're made to feel guilty about being a failure, and you carry that with you. It's almost like the system, maybe not intentionally, but I feel that this is what's happening. The system that runs this world and runs our lives is trying to instill into us this sense of fear, just fear of everything. That's what I feel, anyway, from my personal experiences of going through school and college and all the rubbish that I had to do, and the way people have spoken to me. It's almost like they're trying to instill into you this fear of everything, and it's just so sad. So sad. It really is. So sad. It's so sad. It really is. Life is like music. Like a dance. The same dance that you see on the ripples of water. We're being made to be like... we live in a very machine-like world. Get onto a positive wave of energy. It can be done. And you don't have to work hard at it, you've just got to let go and flow into it. That's the key, is to let go. Can you let go? Have you ever felt torn between two personas? Like your soul, that is who you are, is divided. I'll give you an explanation of what I mean. You are inside a shop and you want to buy this thing that you've seen, yes? And part of you is saying, yes, I really want this, I'm going to buy it. But then there's another part of you that's saying, I don't really need this, I better not get it, it's a waste of money, we go through that all the time. I go through that, and I'm sure you do as well. I'm sure everyone goes through those feelings, and these feelings This feeling of should I or shouldn't I affects you in every level of life, micro to macro, all these decisions. And they can really define you and what your experience is like on this earth. I really want to do this thing. I want to do this, but then maybe I shouldn't do it just in case, it could be dangerous. I could, run out of money and goodness knows, all sorts of awful things could happen. Oh, but I so much want to do it. But I better play it safe 10, 20, 30 years. Why didn't I do it? That's what happens. This is what's going on. Why is this happening? And I'll tell you why I think it's happening. There's been what they call an awakening going on. I can feel it. I've watched a lot of videos, and there are people who are talking about this awakening. A lot of people feel that the world and the universe has changed. There's been a real big change going on. A lot of people felt this change about 2011, 2012. For me personally, I felt this change a lot earlier. Definitely around the turning of the new millennia. I definitely felt that there was something not quite right. I couldn't pinpoint it and say exactly what it was, but it was just this feeling that the world had changed. Really, really changed. There was a different feeling going on, a very different feeling. I went from feeling, okay, I know what I'm doing, this is what life is, to a real feeling of loss, and nothing really made sense anymore. Nothing made sense, and even people seemed to change, and I started to know this change more, and I started to notice this change more and more as the years went by. So it wasn't immediate, but I began to. It's almost like my eyes began to open, and it all became clearer. Something was not quite right, and it kind of sped up as time went by. It was almost like it sped up until it's become obvious that this something crazy is going on in this world that we're living in. It doesn't feel right. There's something wrong. And there's so many videos about the Mandela effect. Just because this Mandela effect is remarkable. It blew my mind. Now I did watch when I first heard about the Mandela effect and looked into it. Like a lot of other people who have seen this, I imagine, will look at it and go, what a lot of rubbish, it's just false memories. And that was how I felt about it initially. But the more I looked into it, the more I began to see, the more it became obvious that there's something not quite right. It's absolute physical proof that something has happened. And it's scary, but it's also quite exciting. Because it means that there's more to this universe than meets the eye. So how do you look at the universe? How do you look at the universe and how do you look at life? And I imagine in the same way as a lot of people who have been educated, you've gone through the whole education system and been indoctrinated and all this. Boom, 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 we get labelled right from birth. This is what you are. This is how smart you are. This is what you're going to do. Right from birth, that's what you are. You're labelled, sent out into the world. Best of luck to you. Probably thinking that that life on the earth is life on the earth is just a layer of insignificant slime. We are just slime moving around an insignificant rock in an insignificant solar system, in a minor galaxy on the edge of an infinite universe that's forever expanding. According to the physicists today, the universe is expanding. all this dark energy all around it. Okay, so that's how you look at the universe. And when you look at the universe that way, it just seems so pointless. What's the point of doing anything, you know? And it's easy to become very, very miserable when you look at things that way. It really is. You can look at it all and go, my gosh, it's just so miserable. Why? Why am I doing this? The fishbowl idea. The video was called The Fishbowl Idea. We can't fathom this universal consciousness. There's no point trying, and there's no need to try, because we don't need to, because that's where we're going back to. So we don't need to worry about it, or we don't need to think about it. We definitely don't need to worry about it. We came from there to here voluntarily to have this experience. We forget all about that. That's all cut off because we are focused here. We're attuned to this moment that's going on. And if we knew about all of that, it would ruin the experience here. That's not the point of it. We're here just to experience this, you know. The whole point of coming here was for the challenge. That's why, life is tough. That's why it's hard. The reason why you don't know about that out there, the reason why you're not connected to it is because people will probably be killing themselves left, right, and committing suicide left, right, and centre just to get out of it. And that's not the idea. The idea is to come here for the experience of this and trying to survive it. Win it and lose it. We came here for the challenge. Which seems crazy, I know. I mean, you probably think, why on earth would I come here for this? You are part of the universal consciousness. You are everything. Imagine that. You are everything. So maybe you would go into a simulation which was a paradise and have a really beautiful experience. And that would go on for, a couple of 100 years maybe? And you're like, well, I'm bored of that. I want to know what it's like to have a hard time. And so you come here and have a hard time and you forget about that and experience this. And when you get out of it, you're like, thank goodness for that. My Lord, that was miserable. I'm going to go and do something a lot nicer now, or something a bit different, you know. You probably wouldn't look at it that way. I'm just giving an example of what it's like. It's an experience and it's all just part of the challenge. And that's what this is. That's what we're going through. All the misery and the pain and the suffering. It's all part of this story. This experience that you wanted to experience. And that's what you're going through right now. So you have the body, machine, which is what you use to interact with this simulation. You have the brain connected to the body, which helps you to move the machine. It also helps you to process the simulation around you. To take in data around you, and this enables you to study and learn, read and write and all this kind of thing. But at the same time, there's another part of you. Let's just say it's here at the heart. Let's just say it's your heart, just for now. That's still connected to the universal consciousness. It's still there. Now, there are some people who have a stronger connection to the universal consciousness, people who have like the sixth sense, real psychics, who can communicate with the spirit world and all that kind of thing. But generally, people, they've got the sixth sense, but they've forgotten about it. They've chosen to forget it, it isn't there. But we still have this connection to what's out there, where we came from. We still have this connection to the universal consciousness, and it's coming in here. But you've also got the brain, which you're using to absorb all the data of the simulation. And that's where the conflict is coming from. That's what's happening. Up here, you're thinking about how to survive in this physical reality. But out there, in the universal consciousness, you just want to be creative and you just want to explore. I believe that the humans are very creative. That's what we really are. We're imagination and we are creativity. And we want to get out there and create things. But we got this here that's really connected to the physical world for obvious reasons, because we're using the human machine to move about and all that. And it's keeping us really grounded in this simulation. And it makes us believe that this is it, this is the be-all and the end-all. And I've got to survive in this, you know. My gosh, I've got to get a job, I've got to get a career, I've got to save up lots of money for the future. You know, my gosh, I'm going to be an old, decrepit person one day. I need the money in order to pay for my health care, whatever. You're so grounded in it. So you have this here telling you how to survive and get through the simulation. But then you also have out there the real you leaking in still, being filtered through, and it wants you to go out and follow your passion. It wants you to go out on these adventures. And the people who are able to subdue the brain and are able to follow the heart, these are the happier people. These are the people who will go out and have all these adventures and have all these experiences, take life in their stride. But so many people, probably because of the education system, the indoctrination that sadly we all go through, and other experiences in life, unfortunate, sad experiences, this takes over. This takes over. The brain takes over and it controls you, and it becomes your worst enemy. Your worst enemy, and you'll have constant conflict going on between what you want to be and what this is telling you to be, and you'll get into a battle. Your body will become a battlefield, and you'll be fighting left, right, and center. It will be awful, it will drive you crazy, and it will make you extremely, extremely miserable, ultimately. And it's a very sad thing, and it's very sad. And I blame the education system. I blame the culture that we have at the moment. I mean, there will be people in other parts of the world that are, where they're focused in their existence, they will have a completely different reality from what we have. But it seems to be a problem pandemic to Western culture, where people are at war with themselves. They're at war. Their minds are fighting each other. Their minds have become their worst enemy. And this fight goes on, and it drags you down. People's brains, people's mind, the mind has become the worst enemy. People have allowed their minds to become their worst enemy, and they've allowed their minds to drag them down to a very negative wave of energy, where you can get stuck. And this is where the depression creeps in, the anxiety creeps in. It's this conflict, as I said, what you want to do, what the brain is telling you to do. How do you deal with this? How do you deal with it? Now, I don't believe medication is the cure. Not in the slightest. The cure medication dumbs it down, but it doesn't get rid of the problem. The problem is still there. The cure to it, and this is not easy, especially for people in the Western cultures. It's not easy to do, but the key is to let go. How do you let go? How do you let go? Because as soon as you want to let go, you start thinking about how to let go. How do I let go? And then the conflict starts again. There has to be some kind of solution to it. We have to become like water. I think it's a good idea to look at life overall as being kind of a joke. I think life becomes more bearable when you look at it that way, instead of taking it seriously. Because if you take it seriously, it's an awful, miserable, tragic thing. Nothing really good in it. I mean, even if you have something that's really nice, it's great for the time, it'll never last. Because you're always living in the eternal now. Now. So in whatever years to come where, you feel ill and sick, become old and decrepit, that's your reality, you see. And all those good things that you once had, just in memory. And if your mind begins to rot, you won't even have your memories anymore. So it really is a big, horrible tragedy, the whole story. This movie that we're living in, it's going to end horribly. But when you look at it all as being some kind of a joke, then you can laugh at it. You think, yeah, it's so stupid. Who cares? Just go along with the flow of it. Doesn't mean to say that you can't have fun or make plans, but don't expect anything out of it. And when things go wrong, laugh at it. Or try to. Cry with laughter. But just don't cry. Cry with laughter. Show life that it can't get you down. And get onto that positive bandwave. That's the only way. At the end of the day, none of it really matters. We're all part of the eternal consciousness. And that's all that matters. We're all part of the eternal consciousness. That's where we came from and that's where we're going back to. Put that in your head and things will seem to be a little bit better. You'll see that there really is nothing to worry about at the end of the day. Nothing at all. If you're watching this video right now, it could mean that I am dead. Or maybe I'm still alive. You can hear me talking right now, so that must mean I'm still alive, right? What does that mean, to be alive? Does anyone really know? I think life is an illusion. I think I'm an illusion. You are an illusion. We're all just images, flickering in a long space of time. If an image can be as real as death, then this image of me, stood here talking to you, must be as real as life.